So now what we want to do is program a win condition. So soccer, the way it works, if you're not aware, is there's two halves. There's 45 minutes in the first half, and there's 45 minutes in the second half. And at the end of that 90-minute play time, whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, and so that's the way that we're going to program this game to go. And so over here in the backdrops, you can see here that we have a player 1 wins backdrop and a player 2 wins backdrop. And so now the question is when do we show one backdrop or the other backdrop? Right. So when we're over here, what we could do is, I guess when we say events, when I receive, when backdrop switches to field, then we'll have a forever loop in here. And just like soccer is based on time, this game here will also be based on time. So we can go to sensing, and luckily we have this timer, right? And this timer is set to 0, and it goes up by 1 second after you start the green flag. You see that? Sets to 0 and goes up by a second every second. So we could say if the timer is greater than some number, right? So we'll say control if timer is greater than, and just for testing purposes, I'm just going to put 10 seconds here, and then we could change that later. So if timer is greater than 10 seconds, then we will broadcast a message saying end game. Okay, so we'll broadcast a new message, end game, and say okay. And also we will have an if statement in here. Okay, so we'll broadcast endgame. That'll make sure that everybody disappears. Okay, and then what is this last sprite over here? Left player wins. Okay, no, we'll delete this. So yeah, it'll broadcast endgame, and all of these sprites will receive endgame, and they'll all disappear. Okay, I guess what we also want to hide the scores as well. So maybe we could say hide variable right here, hide variable, and we're going to hide player 1 score, player 2 score, and inside of the if statement we're going to say if, I guess a better way to do this would be to do if else. So let's get an if else in there. So if the player 1 score is less than player 2 score, then we are going to switch the backdrop to player 2 wins. Yes. Yeah, because that means player 2 has a higher score than player 1 when the time has been reached, right? And it will go into the else if this is not true. And this is only not true if player 2 has a smaller score than player 1. So we'll come in here and we'll say looks, switch backdrop to player 1 wins. Okay. And of course we need to come over here, and for all of these guys we need to say event when I receive end game I want to hide you. Okay, and then the timer also, we will not show the timer the whole game. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that out. And so I'm going to score 1 goal for player 1 and then wait until the timer reaches 10. So player 1 wins, and you can see here that player 1 is hidden. Okay, and so we don't want to just hide player 1, but we want to hide everybody. So I'm going to drag this and go and hide everybody, even all of the sensing sprites. And I'm almost there. Even hide the goals. Hide these as well. And I thought I deleted this, right? Oh no. So yeah, now if I play the game, you could see I'm gonna go ahead and make a goal, and I'll wait for the timer to go off. Player 1 wins, everyone disappears, and we have a complete game here. Okay, I guess for the challenge exercise, what you would want to do is to check not just if player 1 wins or player 2 wins, but also check if it's a tie, right? And if it's a tie, well, then you would need to show a different backdrop. And how would you do that? Well, we could go in here into control and we could say here if else, right? And so here the if would be if player 2 is greater than player 1, if player 2 is less than player 1, switch to player 1 wins, right? And the else, it would only go into the else if player 1 score is equal to player 2 score. And so here's where you would print out the tie background. Okay. So again, I'll leave that for you to do on your own. And of course, if you want to make this a full game, you also want to program everything you program for player 1 into player 2, and also have a set of sensor variables for player 2. And then you could have a 2-player game where they could both play against each other.